a difficult result yesterday against Blackburn. What's your assessment on it? Because it seemed like we were just coming into the game just before we conceded.
Yeah, so it was obviously a long day. Early call for the girls to get up and travel up to Blackburn on the day, and I think that factor, along with the pitch was quite soft, and looking back in it, the first half we just never really got going, and I think that was probably us trying to wake ourselves up, get ourselves going after a tough week. And to be fair to Blackburn, they stopped us playing, they stopped us doing the things we wanted to, and they were the better team by a stretch in the first half. We were trying to get into the game. We had a couple of good efforts towards the end of the half, which shots that were ricocheting and just couldn't get through bodies. Mel, Phyllis and Amelia Hazard had one trying to get us back, get an equaliser. But then at the same token, Sarah's made a great save just before the half. So we went in 1-0 down at half time, but saying, you know what, let's get ourselves going. Let's get the travel, everything out of our legs. 45 minutes to get used to the pitch, 45 minutes to get used to, what Blackburn are doing. And we did. We kicked on second half, and we were growing into the game, and we were pushing forward. We made a bit of a tactical change a little bit into it, and that seemed to work. And Blackburn were dropping deeper and deeper, and we were starting to see if we could find the gaps in the pitches that we wanted to. And then unfortunately Blackburn have gone forward and have got a really, really soft penalty, which they converted, and it killed all momentum. And then they scored a really good goal at the end. Over the course of the game, Blackburn played well, and they stopped us doing what we wanted to do, and were valued for the win. But what's hard for us is, just as we were starting to get into the game, we've had the sucker punch of the penalty, which again I've looked back again today, and I don't understand how it's given, and it was exactly the same as I thought at the time. So I think their players leaning into our player, trying to, I don't know how she's fallen over. Evie's poked the ball away. It's good defending. She's taller than the girl, but the referee said that she had both her arms wrapped around their player, which is clearly not the case at all. So then that's what she said to Evie, and that's what she said to me after the game when I asked her why she gave it. So yeah, it was a shame, because had we not conceded at that time, we could have continued the pressure and hopefully gone and got an equaliser. But as I say, Blackburn played well on the day.
On the whole, when you look at these kind of games where you've got to do the long travel, you need those little decisions to go your way. Do you think sort of the second goal made us drop a bit of confidence going into the rest of the game?
Yeah, I think that's. Well, I think we were hurting a little bit and probably still reeling from it, which is when they got in for the third goal, which was a good finish for them. And they probably put a bit of gloss on the score line. But yeah, we certainly we didn't recover too much from that second goal. We were certainly feeling a bit sorry for ourselves and feeling things had gone against us, and we've got to learn from that, because we've got to make sure, even at 2-0 with 15 minutes to go, you can come back. But the third goal really killed the game off, and yeah, unfortunately, so when you got players waking up at 5:30 in the morning to travel the length of the country to go and play a tough side like Blackburn away, it's our hardest away trip. Durham's further, but we do get an overnight for that, and that probably helps. So I think the factors after playing the 2 games in the week as well, which we'd had a good performance in. But I think, yeah, it was a step too far, unfortunately, the third game in a week.
We spoke briefly before the interview about how important it is not to sort of dwell on yesterday, because when you look at it as a 7-day period, to get 2 wins against Charlton and Lewes, albeit in the cup for the second game, it's been, on the whole, it's a decent week for us.
Yeah, I think if you told me before the week that we'd win 2 out of 3 games, I'd have taken that, and 2 clean sheets as well. Obviously, you probably would have preferred them to both be in the league, but it's important that we got those victories, those results, and we can take that performance from Wednesday and the Charlton performance into the Lewes game. And the league's so close. If any team manages to put together a run of 2 or 3 games and get some points on the board, then you're going to be in a better place. And that's what we sort of aim for. We knew we had 3 league games in November. We knew we needed to get something out of a couple of them. Puts a bit of more pressure on us to do that against Lewes. But yeah, every game is big at the moment. But as I say, the league's so tight down there. I generally think one team can go and put a little run on the board and move up and down the table very quickly.
Lewes on Sunday. We bounced back from defeat before and then moved on to a Sunday game and done well. I assume you'd be hoping the girls use that same mentality as they did when they bounced back from the defeat to London City and Durham to put that performance in against Charlton.
Yeah, I think even though we lost against London City and Durham, we started to see a bit more of a consistency over them two and the two victories. So 4 games, it was definitely a bit more of a consistency. We were a lot more solid, and I think Blackburn's just hopefully a blip on our consistency radar, and we need to take that into Lewis. I mean, I said it before, the Conti Cup game, they're having a great season. They had another close game the weekend. We played well on the Wednesday. You know, we deserved the victory. I thought we were better than them from the word go, but I also expect a better version of Lewis in the league game. You know, I think they bring 1 or 2 players back in that they didn't have involved in the Wednesday. But then so will we. We will have people back as well that we didn't have in that game. So yeah, I think both teams will be in a better place, and the main thing is that we win our home games. You know, that's really important. We have to really start trying to get points on the board at home against the teams, sort of in and around us, all the teams we feel we can do. And yeah, we're confident going in. We just got to make sure that we know that the Blackburn game was a blip. Say 2 out of 3 games, it's been a good week.
Bonnie Horwood's been out for a little while, and speaking to her, she seems to be in a better place. Are we likely to see her make a return before Christmas?
Fingers crossed. I think it depends on a couple more things. It's the same there. If you don't want to rush players back, Bonnie's obviously a big player for us and has worked with me for a long time, and it was a tough injury for her to deal with. She's generally not been injury prone when I've worked with her. She's quite resolute. So having her out was not ideal, but got a couple of injuries as part of football. Merrick's injured as well at the moment, and Millie Constantine was injured, but actually looks like that she's coming back from that a lot quicker than we thought, which is great. So yeah, it's one of those, and obviously Meg Alexander's still pregnant, so that's where we're at squad wise.
Going into Lewis, it's of course been marked Women's Football Weekend. Normally, we'd really actively encourage to have people in the ground, so it's going to be a bit more challenging this week. But good news that it's going to be on the FA Player, so it's going to be a good bit of exposure for the league. And normally, when we play Lewis, it's always an entertaining game. Yeah,
I think they've always been tight games. I think every game's been 2-1 and 0-0 last season, and obviously 1-0 so far this season. But it wasn't for lack of opportunities and quality from both sides. The 0-0 game last season, I think they had about 2 or 3 goals disallowed early doors. They really put us to the sword first half. So and I like to think anyone watched the game the other day. It was another good game of football. They're well coached, they're well organised, and yeah, I think Women's Football Week is really about getting as many eyes on the game as you can, whether it's in the Championship or the WSL. So yeah, it's a shame people can't be in the stadium. But yeah, we're pleased to have a game on the FA Player. Hasn't been our lucky thing to be on the FA Player yet so far. So hopefully we can turn that around this weekend.
When you look at the next, say, 4 weeks before we go into the Christmas break, we've got Lewis and then a big game against Palace in the Conti Cup when you look at the group table, and then Leicester and Coventry to come. Is it important that we start with these 4 games and try and build a bit of momentum before we go into the break? It'd be nice to finish on a high after what has been a difficult start.
Yeah, we're nowhere near where we want to be as a group. And by the time we hit Christmas, we would have played everyone and had played Coventry twice. So we know that with the games coming up, the next 3 league games, Lewis, Leicester and Coventry, that we need to get more points on the board and hopefully be off the bottom of the table at Christmas. If we are, then we know that that's when we can push on into the second half of the season. There's still loads of football to go. We've still got some of these, the games we haven't managed to get points away. We've got them to come to us. And we do feel as a group, we have started to turn a corner over the last 4 or 5 games. So we have to take the momentum in, say, 2 games next week. It's great to have a Conti Cup game as well, because I think after that we played 2 games in 5 weekends. So it gets a little bit jagged as far as our fixtures go. A couple of weeks off, play Leicester, and then the week in between Leicester and Coventry is our weekend off. So yeah, we've got to be clever about, not losing any momentum and using the fixtures. Unfortunately, normally you'd go and find friendlies and fill up those slots, but with lockdown and not the ability to not play any teams in the tier 3 or below, or any dev sides that you might be able to go and get friendlies against, that's obviously going to be a bit of a tougher period than normal. So yeah, we've got to plan that right, and the aim for the group is to be off the bottom at Christmas and enjoy the Christmas pudding a bit more.
Talking to Lauren Pickett after the Lewis game, she said that the girls found a bit more confidence from that Charlton win, and you could see it when we played Lewis. And as you said, it's a bit of a bump in the road yesterday, but the girls seem to have constantly stayed in high spirits, and that win seems to have done them the world of good.
They're a good bunch. Even yesterday, they understood what sort of happened, and the fact is, I'm not a type of manager that's going to come on and give excuses every week. I've said when the other teams have been better, and I've said when we've played poor. Yesterday we weren't great, but I do believe there was some mitigating factors for the group going into this one. So, I'm happy to give them that and to see them bounce back and use the confidence that they've gained from previous weeks to take into the Lewis game. So that's really important. Talking about confidence, someone like Lauren getting her goal against Lewis would have been a massive thing for her, because it's been a little while for her to get a goal, and we do need to start putting the ball in the back of the net. We had lots of chances against Lewis. We had lots of chances against Coventry. I think, nearly 30 attempts on goal across the 2 games. Yet we've only managed to pick up a couple of goals. So we've got to get sharper in that final third, and that's just not about the forwards. That's anyone else that's getting into the box and getting on the end of those chances. So I think we were more confident because we were putting teams under pressure. Yesterday, Blackburn stopped us doing that, unfortunately. But yeah, we are in a better place, and yes, there has to be a blip on this little consistency road we're going on.
And just lastly, when you look at the performances at the Hive this year, as well as the results in the last 2 games, we seem to be playing really well at home. Like we took Liverpool, when you look at the score, was glossed when we played Liverpool at home. We ran Durham right to the end, and then we've beaten Charlton and Lewis in the recent fixtures. How important is it going to be, that home form, particularly in the turn of the year when, as you said, we welcome the likes of Blackburn and Coventry and some of the teams we played away to the Hive?
Yeah, we have to make sure that we continue to perform. And say Crystal Palace, even as much as the scoreline was not nice, especially second half. I thought we were in the ascendancy and we were doing the right things. Unfortunately, we just were going for that period. It was 3 set pieces that really killed us, as well as one good goal from them. But I don't think we've played really poorly at home yet. I don't think we have. I think we're in a good place. We know what the pitch brings. We know what our our environment and the culture around the group, and it's really important. As I say, we've got 2 big games at home in Lewis and Coventry that we need to. You need to win your home games. You need to get home points. That's massively important, because in this division, with this amount of travel and everything else throwing on top of it, it's tough. We've seen it in the WSL this week when Bristol City were talking about their travel, going to Crystal Palace on the Thursday and Man City on the Saturday, and that's a pro side going to a semi-pro and another pro team, and they've still obviously struggled with let alone the COVID stuff on top. The travel is tough. So when you're at home, you need to use that. You need to make sure that the other teams feel the travel, and that you use the fact that you haven't is a big advantage, and start on a stronger foot. But yeah, we've got some big games coming up.